Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Sustainability, Infrastructure and Development Committee meeting on April 16th, 2025. The purpose of this meeting is to receive public input on the GRT business plan. I will now call on Chris Ferreso, the committee clerk, to conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Regional Chair Redmond.
Present.
Councillor Craig. Councillor Erb. I believe he's online. Councillor Foxton.
Present.
Councillor Harris.
Present.
Councillor Hunick.
Present.
Chair James.
Present.
We have regrets from Councillor Liggett. Councillor McCabe. Councillor Novak.
Present.
Councillor Rodriguez.
Present.
Councillor Salonen.
Present.
Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Verbanovich. Councillor Williams. And Councillor Wolf.
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and we have quorum. Okay, thank you. We will begin with our land acknowledgement. We are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Chinanton, and Haudenosaunee peoples and recognize their enduring presence on this land. We honor the land, the water that sustains us, the air we breathe, and Mother Earth who provides for all living beings. As we move on these lands, may we do so with respect, recognizing the deep cultural and spiritual connections to Indigenous peoples and those that and their connection to this region. Let us continue to commit to learning to support future generations. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will now proceed with the delegations as listed on the agenda. I would like to remind all delegations of some of the guidelines for participation. For those who are joining in person, please proceed to the podium when you're called upon to speak. Please press the button on the podium to turn on the microphone. If it's green, that means it's on. For those who are joining us electronically, please leave your video camera turned off and your microphone audio muted until you are called upon to speak. You will have 5 minutes. For anyone who registered after the deadline, you will have 3 minutes. If you conduct yourself in any of the following manners, it will result in immediate removal from the meeting, interrupting councillors, staff, or other delegations, derogatory statements about councillors, staff, or others, turning your camera on at inappropriate times, and any hate speech or defamatory comments. I will now call on the first speaker, Devin Sisak, for Barrier Free Cambridge. Welcome, Devin. And you have 5 minutes.
All right. Good evening, Chair, councillors, and staff. My name is Devin Sisak, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Barrier Free Cambridge, an accessibility advocacy group committed to building a more inclusive and accessible city for everyone. And we're encouraged by the scope and ambition of the GRT business plan, especially the goals of making transit more intuitive, equitable, and responsive to the needs of riders. Expanding service, growing the overnight network, and improving township access all represent meaningful steps forward. But if we want to deliver on the plan's promise to put customers at the center, we must confront a barrier that exists before a single trip is even taken, and that's the Mobility Plus application process. Firstly, the ableist language and structural barriers that undermine access and dignity. Currently, Mobility Plus applications ask the questions such as, do you pose a safety risk to yourself or others? Can you be left unsupervised at your destination? Has anyone told you not to travel alone? These questions frame disabled people as risks, liabilities, or burdens that must be evaluated and contained. This is the opposite of barrier-free. This kind of language is not just stigmatizing, it actively deters people from applying. Even worse, many of these questions are repeated in slightly different forms throughout the application, especially when addressing sensory, cognitive, or mental health-related disabilities. This repetition doesn't improve clarity. In fact, it works to reinforce harmful stereotypes about people with disabilities being dangerous, confused, or incapable. The effect is dehumanizing and exhausting. I personally have an application for my son Holden left half filled out because of how depressing the application process is. He's a kid who's accomplished so much in life, but in order to use public transit, I as his father have to sit through a lengthy application that undermines all of his abilities. And the reason why I have to reapply it is because GRT will cancel your pass if you do not use it enough without any notice to the pass holder. If the GRT business plan wants to deliver a rider experience that is intuitive, customer-focused, and simple, we need a registration process that doesn't feel like an interrogation. Another significant barrier lies in who is allowed to complete the application. The required health/disability form can only be filled out by a regulated health professional or an ACE teacher. This excludes applicants who don't have regular access to a doctor or nurse practitioner, rely on peer support, caseworkers, Indigenous elders, or community-based care, live with disabilities that aren't easily assessed through clinical tools. This approach reinforces a medical gatekeeping model rather than embracing a social model of disability. We also want to address a concern raised by a GRT that some applicants may be applying to Mobility Plus solely to access free conventional transit service. The solution proposed is to invest in a way to track people with disabilities' use of conventional public transit to make sure they aren't taking advantage of free rides. While we understand the need to manage resources responsibly, this concern should not be used to tighten access or introduce greater scrutiny in an already burdensome process. People with disabilities often face financial insecurity, and accessing affordable, accessible transit should be seen as a success of inclusive policy, not a loophole to be closed. Equity must come before efficiency. The assumption that people are applying to Mobility Plus just to get free rides positions residents with disabilities as opportunistic, rather than recognizing the real and valid reasons why people with disabilities rely on fare free transit. Many face chronic poverty, unemployment, and systemic exclusion, especially those with episodic, invisible, or mental health disabilities who may not look disabled or fit in institutional expectations. People with disabilities often move fluidly between specialized and conventional transit depending on their condition, the weather, energy levels, or the accessibility of routes. Applying for Mobility Plus does not mean someone is faking a need just to ride the bus for free. It may mean that they need both options to participate in communities safely and flexibly. We recommend the following changes. You replace deficit-based language with strength-based, respectful alternatives to eliminate ableist framing and ensure it reflects dignity and respect. Eliminate or consolidate redundant stigmatizing questions.
30 seconds,
Expand
Devin.
who can verify.
Devin, just to interrupt, sorry, you've got about 30 seconds, okay?
Okay. And affirm both in policy and public messaging that specialized transit is a valid mode of transportation, not a last resort. And if we want to truly empower more people to move freely in our communities, especially residents with disabilities, seniors, and caregivers, we must affirm Mobility Plus as a first-class service. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Devin. We do have a few questions from councilors. Councilor Hunick?
Thank you, Councillor James. Thank you, Devin and Holden, for coming today and for outlining your concerns so eloquently. Chair James, I think it would be really helpful to Devin and Holden if Commissioner Spooner could address some of his concerns.
Yep, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Devin, and your family for coming in today. I think I'll start by saying I'm extremely proud of the work we've done on Mobility Plus in the last 2 years. This council has asked for a target on undelivered trips at 2.5%, and we've achieved that. We've refreshed the software, trying to make better use of our resources. That is complete, and we're about to renew our software. The scoping for that is underway. And I think you said in the MP plan, you can see what we're trying to get at, right? It's more service, it's more customer-focused service, and really, it's better service for our customers with an accessibility requirement. In terms of the application, we did some work on it through the last year, ready to do more. I'll reach out and have a chat with you. I'm interested in that. We are using an industry standard form, and you got it right with the resources component. That is why we use that form and the eligibility. And it's the subsidy on a Mobility Plus trip is 5 times that of a conventional trip. So we're bringing that number down, and so it's the right time to take a look at that application and see if it's achieving what it needs to be, which is, again, making sure that it's the people who need those trips who are getting that door-to-door service. In terms of the policy review about free rides on conventional transit, so policy decisions sit at this council. They don't sit with my team. So what we're suggesting is just a policy review. Two quick reasons for that one. The first is right now we are one of only 2 agencies in Ontario that provide that. Soon we'll be the only one. And the second one is that we've actually had customers tell us that during the application or eligibility process. So they've said to us, I'm not interested in Mobility Plus. I would simply like to have the free conventional. And so, those two things put together, appreciating that that's a bit of a different perspective than you got, but I think those two reasons together tell me that we should do a quick review and bring it back to council for consideration. So all that to be said, I think you've hit some really good points. I'm looking at my team in the crowd and nodding along. We've got some work to do. So I'm happy to reach out and set something up to have a look both at the application and how we can make the overall system work better. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Madam Chair. Well, Devin and Holden, I'd just like to thank you for coming from Cambridge. And I know how much work you've done in Cambridge to promote accessibility, and we're thankful. And I was wondering if you could leave your presentation with us, because you brought out many points that I wasn't aware of, or problems that I didn't know about. Like, for instance, that the pass expires and people wouldn't know that their pass had expired, that kind of thing. So, and I definitely think, as Commissioner Spooner has said, that the wording on the application could be more positive and emphasize people's strengths, not their weaknesses. So I think that's something we can definitely use.
I could definitely email it over.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And clerks, you will follow up for his written notes. Okay, thank you, Devin. Next, we have Lori Strauss, which is in person. Perfect. Lori, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and councillors and staff. Thank you so much for offering the public input on the GRT program. My maiden name is Hefner. I grew up in the family dealership. I have become an automotive writer, but as life would have it, I was born with a rare genetic form of epilepsy. Thankfully, it's very mild. It means I can't drive. So life has been interesting, but it also means I've been using transit for quite some time. And within the big plans, sometimes it can be difficult to remember the smaller details. And when I've seen the discussions about transit, in the paper, listening to friends, anybody who drives, I find it's often, car users, car drivers versus public transit users, and I'm not sure how much overlap there is between those who actually own a car and use transit. So there are just a few things I just wanted to mention that may be of use. Starting the buses, there have been huge improvements to the buses over the years. As much as I love being an 8-year-old walking up the steps in the orange buses, accessibility these days is much, much better. I would ask you to consider the seats opposite the back doors. In future buses, it might be useful to have those removed. And the reason why I suggest that is the buses are not friendly when you have luggage with you, when you have your shopping cart with you. And for those of us who need the bus to do our errands, we're suddenly taking up aisle space with our larger pieces, and having somewhere to put them that we can actually be next to them and out of the way would be helpful. Drivers and those of us who drive with drivers, the passengers, a car offers a certain amount of privacy, and certainly when you're on transit, you try and keep your own privacy. For others, privacy is not that important. And so you're listening to someone else's videos, someone else's music, both sides of the phone conversation. And if there is a way to appropriately enforce more communal use of transit, I think that might encourage more people to participate. The stations themselves, the platforms, again, I'm seeing huge improvements, more shelters, the LRT platforms having heating in there, many positives there. However, I think we can agree that the technology isn't as reliable as one would like. Sometimes the vending machines don't work, and then you're stuck wondering if you should get on the LRT knowing you tried to pay but couldn't. I have 5 cards myself because I've been stuck with the auto load not working and then kicked off the bus. Understandably, I couldn't pay the fare, but it was because the auto load didn't auto load onto my card. So for new transit users, they're not going to purchase 5 EasyGo cards, as backups. The parking is certainly an issue, but from the standpoint of there isn't always enough. The VIA station, I think, is probably the biggest example. 20 parking spots or so. I don't know there's much surveillance there, and given the extremely high increase in car thefts these days, I do believe many drivers are discouraged from using GO Transit because they can't even park to begin with. Even accessing it as a pedestrian, the stretch from King Street to Victoria, the sidewalk is really narrow. There's one spot where there's a post right there. The post can't be removed, I understand. But a gentleman and I were kind of laughing at that spot in the dead of winter. We had a lot of snow. There was for me, knee-high, packed mound of snow on the sidewalk right there that, I don't know if it's the City of Kitchener, I don't know if there's a region, whoever's responsible for that stretch didn't remove. So we're climbing over it, with our bags or what have you, because your other option is to walk into oncoming traffic. So again, it's these details that as we grow bigger and we dream bigger and we make all these major improvements to transit, we don't want to forget the smaller details that may be barriers to those who have the access to cars to actually give transit a try. The last suggestion I would have is communication, not from the GRT. Overall, it's been fantastic, but within the buses directly. They do announce the transit stops. That's fantastic. But it would be very helpful if when the bus pulls up to a transfer point, that it also explains what other routes are available there. So if you're newer to the system, or the system has undergone a lot of flux lately, that it's automatically announced that you're coming up to, King and University Station, transfers to routes 8, 12, 29, and other routes I don't remember right now. So anyways, those are the points I wanted to make. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing other feedback from everyone else participating in tonight's discussion.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori. We have no questions. Thank you for taking the time to come in tonight. Next, we have Michael Drucker. You're here in person. You have 5 minutes, Michael.
Madam Chair, members of committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight.
Is your mic on? Yeah.
How about now? All right, thank you. All right, Madam Chair, members of committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. Next slide, please. I'm here on behalf of the Tri-Cities Transport Action Group, a community group which would like to see it made easier and more pleasant for more people to choose walking, biking, and transit to get around our region. And I'm here to indicate support for the plan and also a few ideas for improvements. Next slide, please. As you know, not just ION, but GRT itself is part of an effort to better align land use and planning. The creation of Grand River Transit in the year 2000 enabled rapid transit planning along the Central Transit Corridor just a few years later, and that's been part of shaping land use quite a bit. When the region did build rapid transit, it didn't just build the first phase of ION, it also redesigned the bus routes and invested in service increases to make a better network. So we have seen ION attract billions of dollars in development investment in the Central Core, and much of the growth is now in the Central Transit Corridor, the station areas, and that's great. Transit as a percentage of trips has grown. It's great, you can't say that for many peer cities during the pandemic. That's been happening here. It's great. However, the transit percentage is still low, and most trips in the region are still made by car. We do need to continue to make it better, to make it competitive, and we need to do it with some urgency, because the alternative is not just worse for the environment and worse for our health. The alternative is also more expensive. Road expansion, as I think we all remember, was preventing road expansion was a big aspect of the plans for ION, and that's still true. It's really expensive, and good transit is part of the story to avoid it. Next slide, please. So the frequent service network in the GRT business plan is a site for sore eyes. Today, there's a handful of routes with 15-minute service, but only on weekdays. Most routes are 30 minutes outside of peak hours. Only Route 7 and ION are actually frequent all week. And you've heard frequency is freedom. it's really hard to plan your life around using transit if you have to plan your day around using transit. So creating an expansive frequent service network would be a game changer. You don't need to worry about schedules. It's much more easy to transfer from one route to another to get way across town. And again, this is transformative, and I would even say that ridership increases from this are probably understated in the plans. So there's many other changes along the lines of just the basic utility of transit in the plans that are really great. But I want to speak on a couple of other issues. Next slide. Now, a caution. The business plan is not fully clear on this, but I'm sure there will be pressure every year to squeeze more revenue out of buses, including through wrapping them in ads. This is a mistake. If you're trying to get people to take transit, your ability to reach climate goals, avoid road expansion, guide new development, depends on more people wanting to take transit. Don't make transit vehicles into moving billboards. Especially don't wrap the windows. It's unpleasant, it's nauseating. What message does it send when you cover the windows on a bus full of people to get a few bucks from a car dealership's ad? So, a request on fare strategies, on revenue strategies. Next slide, please. Finally, we need to seriously rethink how we're approaching transit expansion. ION Stage 2 is taking a long time, and with current costs and approaches, it might take forever. We need to be looking at phases 3, 4, and 5. We need to be able to build incrementally. And if we had been doing that already, we probably would be under construction for phase 2. Costs have gone up in many places in Canada and the US, and it's not mostly inflation. It's poor practices in which agencies and governments make construction someone else's problem and have little oversight for cost control and competitiveness for the details of the plan. Transit isn't that different from the other areas where we do have in-house capacity to oversee projects. Roadworks, utility relocation, we do lots of public works, but for transit, we and many others have decided, we are not competent to do that. And so that has proven to be a mistake, a very costly mistake. We need to remedy that. Let's learn from what works better elsewhere and what worked better here and fund in-house capacity for transit infrastructure planning, procurement, and management. We would be able to get the costs down, build proactively, and get much more built for the same amount of money.
You have about 15 seconds or so. Actually, just summarize.
Summarizing. Next slide, please. This plan includes many excellent elements, and we would like to see it implemented as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question from Councillor Urbanovic.
Thanks. Not so much a question as really just a note of thanks to you and everyone at TriTag for all you do, whether it's on transit, on cycling, on trails, and all the things that we're doing to provide active transportation and other transportation choices for people.
Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thanks for coming in, Michael. Nice to see you again. I'm just curious about what you were saying about the ads. And I mean, I understand from the accessibility piece and it covering windows, but if it's just on the panels or the back, is that an issue for you? Or, and I was also curious, when you use the word nauseating, do you mean you just don't like it, or it actually it's physically with the movement?
Okay. Yes, so let me go in order. So I think ads that cover windows are a different category than ads in general. I think the considerations, I would say, for ads in general, especially outside of the vehicles, are around the prestige of transit and how you brand transit as a mode of travel. And so that's very reasonable. But I think covering the windows is worse, because I definitely do know that people find it physically nauseating sometimes when it's hard to see outside, especially when it's dark. People find it difficult to see where they are. So it's a problem, and it's better than when the wrap completely covers the window, but even as is, it covers much of the light. So it's a qualitative difference. I may have forgotten the second question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael. We will now call on Bruno. You should be on.
Good evening.
Yes, you have 5 minutes, Bruno.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Council, and staff. Today, I will be speaking in favor of the GRT's business plan. So one of the reasons that I came to Waterloo Region to live was because I saw that it was building forward with its public and active transportation system. And this is really important for me because this transit system is a lifeline to do anything in this region. So I cannot walk, bike, or take transit. I have no other option to get around unless I want to pay thousands or more for a car or rely on others to drive me. And, I just can't help but wonder how many people have to make a choice between paying their car bills or other necessities. I can't help but wonder how many people could be using the money they spend on their car for other goods and services that they need or want. And now that Waterloo Region was identified by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce to be the most vulnerable community to tariffs, improving affordability is even more critical. And I would say that transit is the most affordable way to get around. And the improvements in the GRT's business plan could help to empower people like me who enjoy being able to take public and active transportation, and others who would if the service coverage was better, more frequent, and more reliable, especially in the more suburban and rural parts of the region. So I think this plan is a step in the right direction and can help the Waterloo region to prosper by improving affordability and mobility. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. I see no questions from councillors. Thank you for taking the time to show your support tonight. Next, I have Brian Paul. I think you're in person. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. I am Brian Paul, the Executive Director for Supportive Housing in Waterloo, also known as SHOW. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We are at an important moment. As GRT develops its 10-year plan, I was happy to see that children were included, but disheartened that older adults were left out. This is a missed opportunity that we can still fix. As our community ages, affordable transit for older adults is more urgent than ever. They are now the fastest growing demographic in the shelter system. We are seeing the impact firsthand. Since 2023, the number of older adults experiencing homelessness in the region has increased by 55%. And our waitlist for those who are 65 plus has more than doubled in just this last year. That's why I'm here to propose that free transit for older adults 65 plus be included in GRT's 10-year plan. This is not just about transit, it is a lifeline. Free transit would remove a major financial barrier for older adults. As shown on the screen, free transit is already standard practice elsewhere. This is not a new idea, it's a proven one. Research shows that mobility is closely linked to well-being. For older adults, transit means more than movement. It's a key to independence, opportunity, connection, and aging with dignity. The current lack of affordable transit fuels social isolation, a growing public health concern tied to depression, cognitive decline, and hospitalizations. Now, I understand that free transit is not truly free. It's funded through taxes, government support, advertising, and fares. But in other municipalities, this investment has paid off with higher ridership, stronger economies, and new funding. The results speak for themselves. Mississauga saw a 30% increase in ridership among older adults. In Kingston, 40%. And in Oakville, they saw a 578% increase. Other municipalities have seen a 20 to 30% increase in overall ridership with this initiative. Older adults who can move more freely, shop more, attend more events, and support local businesses, strengthening the economy around transit corridors. GRT's affordable transit program offers income-based discounts, but many older adults living on CPP and OAS have an income of just about $26,000 a year. While qualifying under this program, the almost $50 a month in fare is still a major, major burden for them. Transit must compete with essentials like food, housing, and rising medical costs. In the region, 35% of older adults rely solely on CPP OAS and have no additional family support. The current ATP program is insufficient and leaves many older adults behind. Free transit is the solution that aligns with all of our shared goals of creating and making transit more accessible and more equitable. And while the seniors transit tax credit is helpful, a one-time tax refund at tax season is not a substitute for daily, reliable, and affordable transit. It's also been noted that GRT ridership is flattening throughout the day, which is exactly why free transit for older adults makes sense. It would make better use of non-peak hours with little added cost. Now, and although the 2020 data shows higher average incomes for older adults, averages are misleading. It's a myth that people who are retired are financially secure. 4 out of the last 5 older adults that we've housed at Show had never experienced homelessness before in their life. Burlington, Oakville, Brampton, and many others already offer free transit based on public benefit. We must ask, is transit a service for community well-being or a business focused on cost recovery? Many other communities have already chosen service and it is paying off for them. It's time for GRT to do the same. Free transit for older adults is good for the GRT, it's good for businesses, and it's good for the region. Our aging population have earned this and they deserve this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Don't go anywhere. We have a couple of questions from councillors. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, thanks, Brian, for coming in and for the work that you do with some of our most vulnerable seniors and others in our community with the supportive housing of Waterloo program. And your team does great work. I'm just curious because, like, the idea, are you aware of the affordable transit pass or program that the region has?
Yeah.
Because when we met, some of us, Councillor Erb, Councillor Hunick and I met, it was about February last year with a variety of nonprofits, and they weren't aware that we have a pretty, like a 50% or just a little bit more than 50% now. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. But
so, and I spoke to that. It's not enough for the individuals we've seen and for the majority of older adults in the region. I referenced the average. The reason why the average is higher than other groups is because there are a small subset of significantly high earners who skew those numbers. We are seeing more older adults struggling than ever before.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you came in and presented about this because, I mean, we had a bit of a discussion, I think of maybe a year or so ago around, free transit for seniors, free transit for teenagers, right? And if you had to choose, which one would you choose? And quite frankly, I was thinking more youth, right? So that they could become future riders, and for lots and lots of reasons, thinking that, seniors have had the opportunity to earn income, et cetera. So I appreciate you raising these issues, and certainly gives us a lot to think about. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunick.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for coming. It's great to see you. It's great to hear you. Thank you for advocating for seniors. I think one of the strengths of the GRT business plan that I see is that no matter what age or ability you have, if you need cheaper transit throughout our region, you will get it. And I know that you rightfully pointed out that even ATP is too high for a lot of the people that need it, which is why the business plan also speaks to tiered ATP. I don't know, Commissioner Spooner, if you want to elaborate a little bit on what that means, but that might help your cause, Brian.
Through your chair, thank you, Councillor Hunick. And Brian, thank you for coming in. So yeah, you've hit the exact, what we feel like is the appropriate response to the business plan, Councillor Hunick. So Brian, we recognize this issue as well, that the ATP program today, while it provides today a 50% discount, as of July 1st will provide a 55% discount. It doesn't hit everybody. I like that program. I'll note that the agencies that you showed do group-based fares. They do not do the affordable transit program. That is a decision that we have made. But the idea is that it's not binary. It's not do you need it or not. And so the idea of tiered ATP is, as you've pointed out, those who qualify for the market basket goods but actually need more support, we'd have the ability to ramp up that 55% discount to a 75, or we've got to do the work on what that looks like. But that's what we're looking at for the approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fox.
I hope that helps.
Thanks, David, for coming in. And again, this has been talked about and talked about and talked about. And you're absolutely right. And Mr. Spooner, I think, has done the right thing, in my opinion. And what we want to do is to serve the people that need it. Now, the last time this came to Regional Council, I got quite a few emails from seniors saying, I don't want the discount, but I'm willing to donate money to those that can't afford it. So they said that there's a real mix here, a bag across the board. To give a discount to somebody that has an income over $100,000 a year doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But to give it to people that really need it, you know, single parents, children with low-income families, seniors that, again, are struggling, and I would even consider at some point, if the household is poor enough, that we do 100%. But I think we have to base it on real numbers, realistically. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Madam Chair. Brian, thank you for coming in. Another Cambridge person.
Absolutely.
I'm counting. Anyway, have you, as a first step or a step, considered time of day free for seniors, like 10 till 2, or Wednesdays? And I thought, for me, they could at least, if let's say it was Wednesday, people could try to get appointments on the Wednesday or a time of day. What do you think about those?
So that's why that slide I presented is so important, because it shows you different types of things you can do. This is, you just have to look. So as I rely on, I want to thank my friends at the Waterloo Age Friendly Network who provided some of the stats for me. And as I was preparing this delegation, I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, if others can do this, why can't we do this? There has to be some way of doing something like that, maybe a free day a week or something. There has to be, if others can do it, we are a caring community, we're progressive. We should be thinking about, we should be doing things like this too. To me, it's a no-brainer. There's a need, we're constantly advocating about that need for seniors, for older adults who are struggling more than ever before. We have to do more to support them. There are other municipalities who are currently actively doing this. I listed them all to you. You have that slide. We should be doing something like that too. We can do something like that too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Redmond.
Thank you so much for coming in, and I hope this doesn't end up being sort of a binary decision of yes or no. I think free transit's a wonderful concept, but I also at budget time know how much money we put into it. Do you fundamentally have a problem with the tiered support that Commissioner Spooner was talking about?
This is the first time I've heard of it. I would be open to different ideas. I mean, I've reached out to GRT to start a dialogue, to start a conversation, and that's what I'm looking to do. I mean, there are different things we can do. I'm not asking for free transit across the board for anyone over the age of 65. I want there to be something in the plan that speaks to this demographic, and within that, we can work on something together, listening to other people who live here, listening to organizations like SHOW, and we can figure something out. I'm not saying across the board 65 free plus, but we can look to see what others are doing, and we can do something like that here. I know we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. That's all for the questions tonight. Thank you for coming in. Next, we have Ellie Liu. And they are in person. Is Ellie here? Nope. Okay. We will move to the next delegation, Raj and David. And you have 5 minutes.
Perfect. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good evening, Chair James, Chair Redmond, and members of Regional Council. My name is Raj Desange, and I'm pleased to be here tonight on behalf of the Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association at the University of Waterloo, otherwise known as WUSA. I'm speaking on behalf of our Vice President, Arya Razumju, who unfortunately could not attend tonight. I'm currently in my 3rd year of the Legal Studies and Political Science program at UW, and I'm glad to say I'm completing my co-op term as a Stakeholder Relations Assistant with WUSA. Transit is a major priority for students at the University of Waterloo. As a part of the UPass working group, WUSA was glad to take part in consultations on this business plan. We appreciated the opportunity to share our perspective and work with regional staff. Over the past year, UW students have remained engaged in transit discussions. We supported the return of late-night bus service, and we were proud to lend our voice to that conversation right here at Council. Earlier this year, during the regional budget process, our President Nick Feifel submitted a letter urging Council not to move forward with proposed changes to routes, garbage collection, and other services, changes that would have had a serious impact on students and overall ridership. We support the overall direction of the business plan, and we're hopeful about the improvements. Hello? Okay, the improvements it outlines. We look forward to working with regional staff on future initiatives that strengthens access to transit for our students and for all residents. We also understand, given today's economic challenges and tight municipal budgets, not everything in the plan will happen on schedule. But I would like to be clear, students rely on transit. And through the UPass program, transit relies on students as well. It's a partnership worth protecting and worth building on. As you consider this plan tonight and as you plan for the future, we ask that you continue to view students as both users and partners in the transit system. When considering students, it's important to remember that frequency matters. Routing matters, especially when it comes to access to home, campus, work, and the places students need to be successful in their time here. And most importantly, safety always matters. The University of Waterloo has 3 campuses spread across the region. Our main campus in Waterloo, our School of Pharmacy in Kitchener, and the School of Architecture in Cambridge. Being so spread out means that students are regularly traveling between cities, and most of them rely entirely on transit. Because of how our campuses are distributed, transit ends up shaping where students live, where they can work, and how they take part in the broader community. When transit is infrequent or direct, it limits students' options, not just for their housing, but also for their co-op placements, volunteer opportunities, and daily life. Students want to be active participants in this region, but to do that, they need reliable, accessible, and affordable public transit. We appreciate that students were considered during the development of this plan, and we thank regional staff and council for recognizing the role students play in our transit system. That recognition matters, and it's made a real difference. But as you consider this plan tonight, and as you shape future decisions, we urge you to continue keeping students top of mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj and David. I see no questions from councilors. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Next will be Matthew Harvey in person. All right, Matthew, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, councilors and committee members. My name is Matthew Harvey, and I've lived in the region for around 12 years. After reading the GRT business plan, I'm generally quite happy with it, and so I will try and keep my comments brief and pointed here. As others have mentioned, there's a large omission from this plan that I want to make sure doesn't go underappreciated, stage 2 ION. And so I want to just take a moment to talk to you about dignity. There are myriad ways that other cities in North America generally use to make transit users feel as if they are doing the wrong thing, that they aren't valued, and that they should be moving into, the next phase where they get a car and do the right thing. Whether it's stops right next to high-speed roads, or vehicles with window coverings, or poor ride quality and buses that get stuck in traffic, the message is clear. Our light rail is the antithesis to that. It smoothly cuts through traffic, is bright and wide, and runs a predictable schedule generally. Our buses have good ways of enabling stroller and bicycle use, but the ION accommodates them effortlessly. The stations open directly onto pedestrian-friendly areas, and when they don't, they are at least as protected from traffic as they can be. It connects well to our bus network that is generally high quality and on time, and the proposed frequent network in this plan will make this much better. It isn't perfect, but in many places it is great, and it makes me feel like a valued member of society when I use it. This focus on dignity is reflected in the ridership that I see when using the GRT, which is refreshingly varied. It makes me proud to live here. There are people from all different backgrounds using transit in Waterloo region, which is not true in other cities in Canada when I've ridden transit there. Dignified alternatives to car use is how we induce enough usage to keep our existing road capacity open for those who need to use an automobile as we grow larger and larger as a region. I know there are a few reasons why Stage 2 ION isn't a part of this plan, and some is that it was considered out of scope, but it remains true that we haven't heard a lot about Stage 2 ION in a while, and I wanted to make sure it stays on the radar. Thank you very much for your time.
Right. Thank you so much, Matthew. I see no questions from council. Thank you for, Chair Redmond.
Thank you. I'm just a little slow off the mark. I'm just wondering if Commissioner Spooner might speak to the light rail phase 2. I too am a huge fan, and he can maybe give you an update on the timing.
Through your chair, and thank you for the question. Yeah, so it wasn't an omission in that it's a project still in development. And so the timeline and the immediacy is we've got an initial business case underway looking at a number of options to deliver rapid transit to Cambridge. That will be here in November at Regional Council to advance and select an option. And then we'll get into more of the detailed planning and the work. So, we will add it to the map at the appropriate time. But yeah, it is running on a bit of a separate project timeline, but one with some activity very soon. Thank you.
That's fantastic to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks for coming in again, Matthew. Next, we have Sam Gonsalves Horton. Perfect. You've got 5 minutes, Sam.
Okay, is this thing on? It is. Perfect. Good evening, Regional Council. My name is Sam Gonsalves Horton, and I'm here tonight to speak in strong support of the new proposed GRT business plan. I come before you tonight wearing many hats, and each one reflecting a different way that I experience and care about public transit in our region. So first and foremost, above anything else, I am a transit rider. I do not own a car. I rely on the GRT for everything, getting to class, getting to my co-op, grocery stores, medical appointments, meeting up with friends. When buses don't run often or don't connect where they need to, it's not just inconvenient, but it's isolating. Luckily for me, I have the privilege of living in an area of Waterloo that provides excellent service that takes me where I want to go, when I want to go, and allows me, at least on weekdays, to spontaneously change my plans. For transit riders, every time a bus leaves without you, it's like a wall going up at the end of your laneway. If you drove a car, this would surely drive you around the bend. Right now, especially on the weekend, with the 12 and the 202 buses near my apartment, it feels like that wall stays up just a little too long for me to be able to consistently rely on this service on the weekend, limiting the places I can go and the things I can do. This new business plan recognizes that reality and takes steps towards addressing it. Increase frequency, span, and consistency. These are all things that will give people the freedom to worry less and to do more. Secondly, I'm here on behalf of TriTag, the Tri-Cities Transport Action Group. As Michael said, we advocate for better transit, walking and cycling infrastructure because we believe our cities work better when everyone can get around with dignity. From a regional perspective, this plan helps us move in that direction while saving on costly road expansions. However, as Michael and others have already pointed out, being more ambitious with timelines is very, very important. I think we can get this 10-year plan down a little bit if we can, or 5-year plan down a little bit. And reducing, again, wrapped advertising on buses, I think, is essential to the image of transit that we're trying to cultivate here as a first-class service. I'm also here as a student representative, as a spokesperson and UPass partner. Won't be speaking on behalf of ARIA tonight, but on behalf of our president, Nick, who sadly couldn't make it. The University of Waterloo student population, again, is one of the largest and most consistent ridership bases in the region. Thousands of students rely on transit every day, not just for campus commutes, but to live full lives off campus as well. UW data, just to add a bit of an extra layer here, suggests that low ion and bus frequencies are the main reason why employees and students choose to drive over taking public transportation. The proposed improvements to evening and weekend service directly address one of the biggest concerns also that we hear from students. Buses don't run late enough or frequently enough to make us feel safe and supported, especially for those working part-time jobs or studying late at night on campus. Better service isn't just about convenience, it's about equity, safety, and inclusion. Finally, I speak to you as an urban planning student, as somebody who cares and studies deeply about public transportation and how cities grow. When we invest in public transit, we shape a region that is more sustainable, more affordable, and more resilient. This business plan is not just a transportation document, it's a climate action plan, as Bruno said. It's a growth management strategy, as well as an equity policy. Because when we make transit reliable and accessible, we reduce car dependency, we lower household costs, and we allow for more compact and complete communities to flourish. This plan represents a vision, one where the region recognizes that people deserve to have choices in how they move. That transit isn't just for those who have no other option, it's for everyone. If we want ridership to grow, if we want to hit our climate goals, if we want to increase freedom of choice and give people the opportunity to flourish, then we must be bold. And this is the kind of boldness that we need from this plan. So on behalf of myself, TriTag, WUSA, and you Waterloo students, I urge you to adopt and fund this business plan. Let's continue to build a region where we put people and possibilities of what we could do first. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for coming in. I see no questions from councillors. We will now move on to Rajveer Samal.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, the council members, and the staff. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about the transit coverage in Huron South. I'd like to share my screen. Wonder if it's visible there.
Oh, Rajveer, we have your photos that we can share here as well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I would like to bring that we don't have any transit coverage in Huron South on the south of Huron Road. If you can go to the next screen, the closest bus stop is about 15 to 20-minute walk, depending on which bus route you take. There are a couple proposals that I would like to present here. If I can go to the page one behind, there is a existing transit route at the beginning there. If I can just quickly for my reference, okay, maybe that got missed. Anyways, I can just start on the next page with option one. We get transit where this roundabout is. That's the closest transit stop we have, and then there's another one on the roundabout of Starsburg Road and Huron Road. And this area here where I'm proposing the new route, if the transit can accommodate, that would give access to all of the housing on the south of Huron Road. And this area is growing pretty fast. Like, we're building new houses there. There's a community center which has no access to transit. We have multiplexes, condos, townhomes, and if you can reduce the car traffic there, it would resolve the parking issues as well, because I see a lot of cars parked on the roads. I see people walking, and in the winter, you can just imagine taking a walk, which is 15 minutes, and you have a negative 20 degrees and it's snowing, or and the other thing I would like to point out is where the Brigadoon Woods are. That area has a lot of wildlife, so you can encounter coyotes and raccoons, and I've seen foxes there. So just imagine you were just walking by yourself and you encounter a wild animal, and I mean, that's kind of a situation that people are facing there. And this proposed route has paved concrete which was designed for transit route. So at some point there was a plan to bring transit there, but I believe it hasn't happened yet. So if things could move on quick and we can have transit, because the houses are going up. I think the community has grown in like last 6 years. I've been living there since 2019, and I've seen the area grow quite a bit. We have got the plazas and everything, so if we can get better connectivity, that would be great. And with the condos, townhouses, there are a lot of people who are renting them out. There are a lot of students due to the closeness of Conestoga College. We do get a lot of international students there who are using transit as their main accommodation, and just carrying a grocery bag and walking for 10 minutes. I think it's just gets becomes a challenging. So that's all that I would like to request, that if something could be done about it, that would be really appreciated.
Thank you, Rajveer. We've spoken about this and communicated via email. I do want staff, I think, Kevin, you're going to respond, and then we have a couple questions from councillors, so hang on the line there. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yep.
Through the chair, thank you very much, Rajveer, for taking the time to speak to us tonight. And I think one of the things we're excited about working with our local municipal partners when we've thought about planning out for our network and strategic new coverage areas. Southwest Kitchener has been a key priority for us when we consider new coverage areas. The plan really anchors on some improvements for us to connect in the Wollaston area, and then we have some proposals for new coverage in early to middle years of our plan today. So one of the big pieces we will be balancing is that building out the frequent transit network. We've heard a lot here today, and still bringing forward for consideration some options for new coverage areas as well too. This is one piece that we hear you, and future options will be presented for sort of refined feedback on a couple of different options in this area. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Councillor Hunick.
Thank you, Chair James, and thank you to the delegate for advocating for transit in your area. We are aware of many transit deserts, unfortunately, throughout our region, and we are addressing those as best we can. But Commissioner Spooner, I wonder if you would like to speak to how we approach transit deserts and decide on new routes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hunick. I think this is one of the challenging areas for us when we approach plan and budget every year. We've got two needs that we need to address. One of them is we're a really fast-growing region, and so we've got new areas emerging that need service. This is our geographic expansion, our service expansion need. The other thing that we have is we have a lot of ridership and people who are interested in riding existing routes, and so we also have to address crowding, reliability, and on-time performance. And so the reason that we didn't put forward an implementation plan as part of this business plan is that we don't guess. And so what we'll look to do is through each year, monitor ridership, monitor where that is happening in routes, and bring forward to council a transit service plan for the following year that looks to achieve all of these various goals. So as Kevin noted, we've got a lot of neighborhoods who really worked with us through the development of this plan. There is a map in one of the attachments that was with the plan that does show a lot of that geographic expansion. We're excited to get there and welcome new neighborhoods. And it is critical that we get there early. People make decisions about their travel habits early on after moving. If there's a life event, a new job, a new place to live, starting university, those are the times when people make travel decisions. And so making sure that we're ready with service as our community grows is one of the priorities identified in the plan. So just thank you to the delegate for bringing that forward.
Thank you. And Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair James. I just want to thank this delegate and the other delegations that came bringing suggestions. They've been very thoughtful in their interventions. Clearly, they've read the plan and they've given us really valuable feedback. So this has been a really interesting session. I know it's not over, but I just wanted to say thank you for all the positivity that you brought to this process.
Thank you. Councillor Rodriguez, I saw your name in the queue. You're good? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Rajveer. And next we
thank you.
have Barry Green. I believe you're in person.
I just want to come and talk to you about that. I support you guys' transit plans for improvements, but I like to see, like, Cambridge is so far, like, when it comes to transit improvements, it's like we don't have, like, Kitchener-Waterloo has early bus service and everything else, and late night service. Like, we have a nice gaslight district downtown, and if you want to go to stuff like that, when you're taking a bus, some of our buses stop like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And so you can't even go downtown when they spent all this money to get this gaslight district going, and they don't have late night bus service. And also when it comes to Sunday service buses, I work at Kitchener Costco, and sometimes with our shifts, I don't know if you're going to shut up Costco, but I work at the front door at Costco, and we open up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and some of our shifts start at 8:45 in the morning, and when buses don't run early enough on Sunday service, because I checked the schedules, and for my area, I'm over at Myers Road and Cheese Factory area, our buses don't start till 8:30 in the morning, either way, going up to the mall or downtown. And when you gotta get to work for 8:45 in the morning, you gotta take a taxi in, and that's like $40 one way. So that's like 2 hours of my schedule, of my time, just to pay for a taxi. Like, it's nice that it's okay getting home and everything else, but when you gotta get to work in the morning, they need earlier transit times. Like, it's like even before regional transit came involved, Kitchener had earlier bus times, but us in Cambridge, we're always seen to be the ones that are not getting the service that we need and all of that. So I would like to see Cambridge be kind of top prioritized with all these new improvements, just so people can get out and enjoy themselves. Like, I always have people say that, okay, let's go downtown, let's go to the Gaslight District. We have all these like bands going on, or some nights when they do movies or show sport games there. Well, if you want to stay to the end of the event, you can't, because all the buses have stopped and all that. So you're kind of like, okay, what can I do? Where can I go? And it's kind of limited when we don't have the bus service to get everywhere, because now, since they raised the way I think, don't quote me on this, but since they raised the fee to sit in a taxi before, it used to be $0. Now it's like $5 or whatever dollars just to sit in a taxi, and it does add up. Especially when you're on fixed income and you rely on transit. It's nice having that transit program that does help pay for our bus passes, but when you want to get out and about and you can't get taxi, like, I have a learning disability because I had meningitis at 3 months of age, and when you can't get Mobility Plus because of you don't fall under criteria, it's hard to get out and about and do things. So I just thought I'd come and express my opinion that it would be nice to see that Cambridge, when it comes to the improvements, that Cambridge does get some kind of service, like early morning, especially, and all that, for people that do work in different areas that can't get there by bus if it's early in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming in. We do have a few questions from some councillors. Councillor Wolf.
Through you, Madam Chair. And Barry, thank you so much for coming. I know you said you read the letter in the paper where I was complaining, and I'm glad that you've come to also share your problems that you're having. How long does it take you to get, when you do get the bus, to go to work from where you live?
It usually takes 45 minutes to it now. It all really depends on connection wise and just transit times and all that. And like, that it would be like nice to have like better service that area. And I know this is not the place to say it, but since there's a lot of transit people here, at Kitchener Costco, we do have a lot of people that do take the bus. It would be nice to have a bus shelter out that way, because when you're waiting out there, I don't know if I should have asked for this earlier, but if you put up the graph of that picture of that area, there is really no shelters. Like when you're coming up towards that area, there's one by across from the old theater at Jump Zone and all that, but I hardly ever see anybody use that shelter because of that movie theater not being there anymore. So that shelter is just sitting vacant, not being used, when I think that if we look at moving that shelter in front of Costco or whatever, just somewhere along that way, so we could have a shelter. And then, sorry, I should have brought this up in that area, but when it comes to bus stops along there, because I work early mornings, and if I had to get off at Gateway and King there by the store there, I had to walk back like half a block to where the Home Depot parking lot is, because I had to go in the back way. I know a long time ago they had an extra bus stop along there, but they removed it because of, I guess it was too close to the other one. But it would be nice to have one there. So when people have to work early morning at Costco, they don't have to get off at the lights and walk back just to go into work, because we can't go in the front doors until after 9 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Redmond.
Thank you, Chair James. Thank you for coming in. I'm wondering if Commissioner Spooner can just maybe address, you brought up something, an earlier delegation talked about advocating for late night buses. And what I hear you saying is that you're looking at late night and early bus service. And I'm just wondering if Commissioner Spooner could talk to a little bit about the process, how we decide when we run buses and how those schedules are formed.
Through you, Chair, and thank you, Chair, for the question. Barry, I think you've given a really good presentation on the human side of transit today, and I'm excited to respond because you've hit a lot of the main elements of the bus and train plan. So let's run through it. You talked about weekdays and weekends. Frequent Transit Network addresses that. You talked about riding in the same journey on your way to and from work, and that's what consistent schedules are intended to get out. You talked about the opportunity to have a good time in the Gaslight District, and that's what the overnight network gets at. And the one piece that you didn't, but I would invite everybody to come along with you to the Gaslight region is talking about the Highway Express network and the ability to move quickly between Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. So I think you've really hit all of the main elements that we're trying to address with this plan, and I see tremendous benefit to you. To the specific question on how do we decide when, again, it's data driven, it's based off ridership, but it's also sometimes based on the limitations of our service and the resources we have. And so when we look at those opportunities, the reason that you're seeing consistent schedules that addresses, that consistent trip, whether early in the morning or later in the day, we see that as a major economic driver. That provides businesses in our community the opportunity to set up shifts in that way, knowing that their workers can get there. And the second piece to that was the overnight piece, which again might offer the opportunity for triple shift. And so we've got to get into all of this plan. I'm excited for you, Barry. I think this is about to make things real good for you. But again, thank you for putting that human element onto the business plan.
But my point is that it seems like when it comes to improvements, Cambridge is always usually the last bit to get it and all that. Like, we just need to get ours up to par, like what Kitchener has, because when you gotta work an early morning shift, you had to try to, I'm not trying to say argument here, but when it comes to, when you have an early morning shift, and sometimes you say you don't have the cash on you, and everything else, you gotta say, okay, sorry, can I start at 9 or whatever, because I can't get in. But then you're it doesn't look good on your part that you have to give away a shift or whatever because you can't get in. And it would be nice because I do have a disability, but just for meningitis and learning disability, I don't fall under that criteria for Mobility Plus. So if I had Mobility Plus on those days on a Sunday or whatever, when I have to work early, I can just book ahead and think, okay, Mobility Plus and everything else.
Thank you. One more question, Barry, from Councillor Hunick.
Thank you, Chair James, and thank you, Barry, for sharing very vulnerably that it costs you $40 to get into work when the buses don't run. I think that's very important for regional council to be aware of. In situations where someone doesn't qualify for Mobility Plus and the buses aren't running, Commissioner Spinner, is there a Flex Bus route or a Bus Plus route that could fill that gap? Do you?
Through you, Chair. Good question, Councillor Hunick. So we've been looking at, as part of the night network development, the overnight network, what that could look like. And so, that can expand out of the night network into other times of day and weekdays and weekends. But what we've been looking at is that night network would look a lot like the existing iExpress network. And then the question becomes, how do you manage the first and last mile? So, we do have, places to go that exist on that network, but we also have many places to go and work that do not. And so we have been exploring. We've run an on-demand pilot, Route 79 to the airport. We've had some great learnings out of that. And so we are exploring how to deliver a bit more of that kind of personalized service at different times of day using different vehicle types. So it is mentioned in the plan in the overnight, but I think if we learn lessons from that and we can make it work effectively, we can use it in other times of day. So.
And just a follow up, sorry, Chair James, if someone didn't qualify for Mobility Plus but thinks they could, should they apply again?
Through your chair, yeah, I think so. We've Councillor Hunick, you and I have talked about this.
We have.
The nature of an accessibility requirement is that sometimes they are fixed and sometimes they are a bit more dynamic and they change over time. And so, yeah, Barry, I'd be happy if you wanted to have a chat with somebody from my team or you wanted to reapply to see if that was an option for you. But yes, Councillor Hunick, we do accept repeat. There's no issue with somebody trying again.
Thank you. Thank you, Barry. Do you want to respond
No,
quickly?
I just want to say, I know I've read up on all the routes that are getting the overnight and late night service, but when it comes to accessing it from my area, it does not apply to my area. So I like the idea of late night, early morning bus service, but my area, I don't fall under the criteria of having that, the one, because I take the 53 or the 50, and everything else just to get downtown or to the mall. My buses don't even match up with any of that new info that's going to be coming for all the new routes. I looked into that, and it's only like the 206 and the 51 and 302 and whatever, but my buses in my area for that side of the Gulf do not match up with those roads that's getting that improvement. So I decided to put it out there that it would be nice to see some of the other routes instead of just the main line ones. What about the arterial ones that get people to the main lines? What about their routes? They're saying, thank you.
Thank you. Doug, maybe it's worth a follow-up with Barry after, okay? Thank you, Barry. Now, moving on to Kevin Dendunnen. Perfect, you have 5 minutes, Kevin.
Thanks, everybody, for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to speak briefly on my support for GRT's business plan. The frequent transit network will greatly improve service for the residents of Waterloo region. Across North America, many transit agencies like Toronto's TTC report that they are experiencing the greatest ridership increases on weekends and off-peak service. Our current weekend and off-peak frequency for most routes of 30 minutes is limiting and will prevent GRT from this growth. I've often experienced people deciding to drive or take rideshare rather than use transit on the weekend because waiting at a stop or for a long transfer is extremely inconvenient and makes the trip take much longer. The frequent transit network with 15-minute or minimum 15-minute frequency and 10-minute frequency during commute hours will make transit far more competitive with driving and ride sharing. It will also provide better access to jobs, services, and leisure. With the frequent transit network, many riders will no longer feel the need to exhaustively research the best timing for their route. They can simply arrive at a stop and trust that transit will arrive soon. I'd also like to add that the Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum should or deserves a better bus stop. I know the business plan is wider in scope than a single location, but especially with the hopeful reopening of Dune Heritage Village, our community deserves and needs better bus access there. The current arrangement is takes a 12-minute walk to get to the museum and requires crossing a loud and dangerous boulevard with hostile traffic at intersections. This becomes more inaccessible through heavy rain or extremely hot days. I hope you'll discuss a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I have no questions from councillors. Next is Nathan Pineda, and you are online. You have 5 minutes, Nathan.
Good evening, members of the chair, council, staff, and all present. My name is Nathan. I'm a lifelong resident of Kitchener. I'm currently living in a newer active development project in the city's southwest. I work as a social support worker in Waterloo, and I'm also a paramedic student at Conestoga College. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today in support of the GRT business plan. I want to speak to the very real impact that improvements to transit would have on myself, my peers, and our wider community. Like many people my age, I rely on a mix of transportation, mainly biking, taking the bus, and occasionally driving, though I don't own my own motor vehicle. Here's the reality. To get to Dune College campus from where I live, it takes about 20 minutes by car, 40 minutes by bike, and over 70 minutes by bus. That's a 50-minute difference between car and bus for a 15-kilometer trip. One of the biggest reasons for that is that my nearest bus stop is about a 40-minute walk from home. This is a common issue in expanding areas of Kitchener-Waterloo. While our cities continue to grow, the public transportation network has not kept pace. Transit needs to be accessible and reliable if we want people to use it. Without frequent service, better coverage, and improved scheduling, public transit simply can't compete with the convenience of a car, and most people won't consider it a real option. But this plan offers, in part, a solution. Expanding service in areas like mine, Sunrise in the southwest, means more people can access the GRT. Improving frequency and schedule reliability also makes transit more attractive and competitive. The data backs this up. When transit becomes more viable, ridership increases. And when people ride more, our roads become safer, our communities more connected, and our growth more sustainable. I'm speaking not just from personal experience, but from professional and community perspectives as well. I work closely with people who don't drive for many different reasons. Age ranging from young to old, due to disability, income, or circumstance. Transit is a lifeline for these residents. When it doesn't reach them, or when it takes too long to be practical, they're excluded from opportunities, jobs, healthcare, education, and community involvement. I've also spent substantial time abroad in Denmark, where I experienced firsthand what an efficient, well-connected transit system can look and feel like. I didn't drive there, yet I never felt restricted. Transit offered safety, comfort, and independence for all. We deserve that same standard here, and this business plan takes us a step in that direction. I also want to briefly touch on safety because I think it's a critical point. As a future paramedic, I'm acutely aware of the dangers associated with car dependence. The leading cause of death for people around my age, 22, is unintentional injuries, most often caused from motor vehicle collisions. Distracted and impaired driving are persistent public health problems. Public transit is statistically far safer, and every person we can shift from a car to a bus helps reduce risk for everyone. Finally, I'd like to note that I wasn't able to attend this meeting in person due to the same issue I've spoken about, lack of accessible transit in my area. The GRT just wasn't capable of lining up with my schedule today. That alone speaks volumes about the current gaps. But it's also a hopeful reminder of how this plan could change things, not just for me, but for everyone who wants a better, safer, and more equitable way to get around. In summary, this business plan supports ridership, enhances community cohesion, and improves public safety. I urge you to give it your full support for a healthier, more accessible, and more connected Kitchener-Waterloo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nathan. We do have a question from Councillor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Nathan. And through you, Chair, I'm wondering if staff could comment on something that was picked up earlier around some of the investments that are shown in the business plan around Sunrise Centre, the Wollaston Terminal, which is shown in the plan now, and what those improvements might allow staff to do in terms of connecting folks to buses that get to different places, how they can connect from Southwest Kitchener to Conestoga College or downtown. If you could just maybe comment on that, that'd be great.
Kevin? Yeah.
Through the chair, and thank you very much for the delegation tonight. That was some really impactful commentary. I appreciate that. And to answer the inquiry, there's a couple pieces that all kind of come together when we look at both the strategic new coverage and what we can unlock with both the frequent transit network, some new coverage, and even the proposed Highway Express. So when we leverage the opportunity to enhance speed and look at how we can utilize our highway networks better for reducing the trip and travel times across our community from east-west, for example, particularly speak to the Sunrise Center and proposed Highway Express service to there, we can use that to unlock access across communities as sort of a jumping off point. But then in addition to that, we then overlay the frequent transit network that provides some grid pattern that really helps benefit these new growth areas. And then finally having that coverage to get in between some of those communities that fall into that network. So using this really real example that was presented here today, by providing that frequent transit network with some overlay with local services, there's confidence that you can connect to high frequency transit that can not only get you out of your community, but connect you to higher speed services to get you across our community. So that's really where you see the interplay between the different priorities that we've talked about here tonight and several of the delegates have brought to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Hopefully you join the Region of Waterloo paramedics in the future. Thanks for taking the time tonight. Okay, we are now moving on to next delegation list. These are individuals who will have 3 minutes as you were registered after the timeline required for the 5-minute delegation. So I will call on Hadai Fizal, and you have 3 minutes. Go to the podium. Howdy.
Good evening to the chair and the rest of Regional Council. I'm here on behalf of More Transit Southern Ontario to support the GRT business plan. The GRT business plan is an ambitious proposal to greatly improve transit across the Tri-Cities and the rest of Waterloo region. We support the expansion of the frequent transit network from the existing 2 routes to 16 routes, additional mobility plus service hours, expanded transit service within small towns, free rides for kids under 12, which is something the GRT is behind on. Most agencies in Ontario already have this. And there's a lot of additional things in this plan that are excellent, and we want to see the business plan funded and implemented as soon as possible. We also have some additional measures that we want to see to make the GRT service plan even better. The first one of this being fare capping, which is essentially a replacement of the monthly pass system to a maximum amount of fares someone can pay in a month. And what this does is it makes riders not need to calculate whether or not a monthly pass is cost effective for them to buy that month. So they can just tap, and once they reach the monthly pass cost limit, they'll have free rides for the rest of the month. And another thing that I would want to see on the GRT is open credit and debit payment, which is also something the GRT is behind on. Most agencies within Ontario already have this, such as the TTC, GO, Durham Region Transit, and MyWay. And we'd also like to see additional expansion of transit priority measures, which the region is already doing a good job on, such as bus lanes, queue jumps, and transit signal priority, as well as operational changes for more efficient services, particularly on buses, such as proof of payment, a proof of payment system like seen on ION, which would enable all-door boarding on buses, speeding up boarding and speeding up trips. And another thing we realized was that the ION Stage 2 LRT wasn't included in this business plan, and we're concerned about the construction cost of this project and are worried that the high cost due to the lack of in-house expertise and excessive use of contingencies and risk allocation for inflation are driving up the project and will lead to the project in November getting watered down to bus lanes and improved priority measures on the 302 Ion bus, and the LRT expansion to Cambridge and future expansions won't happen. So we want to see the GRT fund more staff to manage and build transit instead of relying on consultants, which is proven to significantly increase construction costs to make this project financially viable. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Spooner, do you just want to respond to some of what Hadil said?
Yeah. Heidi, thanks for coming in. I was having a quick giggle there and looking at my team on the fare capping discussion. We are actively having that discussion as an organization. So we've got some technology limitations today, but actually absolutely exploring that. On the second one on credit and debit, so on March 19th, we launched GRT Pay. So we now do have the ability to accept debit and credit. We've got a single product on there now, which is a single adult fare, but over time, we'll continue to add to there. So that is our response to the need that you've identified for credit and debit. In terms of priority measures in the bus network, our opportunity for that is through individual projects that we will advance, but also through the development of the integrated mobility plan that looks at corridor usage in its entirety. So that plan will start to emerge in the coming year, and we'll be able to have that discussion about where we need transit signal priority. As we often note, the success of ION Stage 1 is that reliability and predictability piece. And then finally on Stage 2 LRT, so we do things different in the region of Waterloo. We delivered a really high-functioning LRT system at a really good price. And so the goal on Stage 2 is to figure out how to do that again. We've got a great in-house team now managing Stage 1, and if we're able to leverage that to help reduce cost in Stage 2 and eventually into Stage 3, we're looking at delivery models right now. So again, all your feedback is great. Appreciate the opportunity to respond.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Next, we have Abdullah Mir. You are virtual, I believe.
Hi, hello, councillors, chair members, and members of the public. I would like to first of all show my support. First of all, I would like to show my oh yeah, sorry about that, camera. Yes, I would like to show my support to the business plan. I especially find the the frequent transit network and consistent schedules to be really good plans in improving the GRT system, and I can surely explain why. It's because like when people drive a car, you often have like kind of like this assumption that you can just leave your house whenever you want and just go when you need to. But oftentimes with transit, and I am also a frequent transit user, by the way, I find that you have to really plan your day around transit. And while this isn't really necessarily the end of the world, it can really make the user experience for transit difficult for many people, not being able to have flexibility and when you want to leave and constant scheduling. And so I think so of course when you have a 10-minute frequency, then you don't really need to look at a schedule, and you can leave and have a bus arrive within relative frequency. And I kind of experience that with the ION. I take the ION pretty regularly, and also the 302 bus fairly regularly. And during peak times, both transits have an around approximately 10-minute frequency, and that is a big experience that is a big improvement in my experience over the other local buses, which often have a 30-minute frequency or even more. And using the ION and other buses that have a 10-minute frequencies are just so much easy and so much more convenient. So I think that we should really go ahead with the plan to I think it's like 16 routes or 15 routes that will have 10-minute or better transit frequency, and also to have more and better consistent schedules, because if the schedule change a lot, then that also kind of makes planning your trips more difficult as well. And finally, I do have a question about the cost of this business plan. Like, how will it be funded? Because it does include a big expansion. And will fares go up? Will they stay the same? And by how much, if that has been decided yet or not?
Okay, thank you.
But other than that, thank you very much. And I think this is a pretty good plan overall. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Abdullah. I think Commissioner Spooner may be able to respond to some of the the last financial question you just had.
Absolutely, through you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. So, Abdullah, you rightly pointed out this is an investment plan. It takes our annual operating costs from 234 million to 314 million. That is an operating cost increase of 34%. The piece that we're most excited about is that it also increases service hours by 63%. And this is because we've got a lot of the foundational elements for our transit system in place, and we're able to now really crank up that efficiency. It also anticipates that revenue will increase by 35% from its current 85 million to 115 million. So we've talked a lot tonight about free transit. We haven't necessarily talked about how transit gets funded. That is in two ways. There is user pay, so that's at the fare box. That's the tap card or the money we put in. And then there's also community pay, which is where the tax base or the broader community bears some of that cost as well. And so in the fare strategy, we did identify that we'll continue to look at like agencies, we'll look at inflation, and we'll look at when we add major service increases. We may also recommend to council some fare increases. But really the goal is to maintain our cost recovery at its current rate, which is just hovering just under 40% while we grow. And so really, how we fund it will happen in two ways. And my first one is encouragement to anybody listening tonight who's excited about this plan is come and ride with us, because that's the best way. If we've got ridership and revenue coming in, that's an easy choice. And the second one is that we will each year advance, as we've said, a transit service plan to regional council, and in that very difficult process of weighing all of the needs of the region, we'll obviously advocate for increased transit. So again, we've got a role in this as well, which is let's get on the bus. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for delegating tonight, Abdullah. I have no questions from council. We'll move on to the next delegation. Swanee Graham, I believe you are in person. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I also have a question about free ridership for seniors. I myself am a senior, and I think Brian from Supportive Housing answered a lot of questions and did a lot of the research, but I didn't know about that beforehand. But anyway, specifically ridership for seniors free between certain hours of the day when the ridership is really low and the buses are empty. It would really be a good idea to come up with some type of creative solution at any time during the day, like 10 to 2, to have seniors be able to just get on a bus and go where they have to go. Now, the cities, as Brian pointed out, of Burlington, Brampton, Oakville, Ottawa, Mississauga, and a number of others have already seen the benefits of free transit for seniors, including reduced traffic congestion, reduced social isolation, and according to the National Institute of Aging, by 2030, so within the next 5 years, 25% of Canadians will be seniors. Now, I live in a building with 120 apartments where at least 80% of the people are 65 years and older, and they come from a variety of financial backgrounds. They all have different stories. Now, many of these older seniors still drive, even though they absolutely shouldn't. Trust me, they shouldn't. And even though there is a bus stop directly in front of our building that goes right to the boardwalk and across the street that goes directly downtown, so they can certainly go to all of their doctor's appointments and to any appointments that they do have. However, most of them are still stubborn and have cars that they can drive to these appointments. And they drive because fees for transit is more expensive than putting a few dollars of gas in their car and going to their appointment. And these seniors have a lot of flexibility in terms of when they need transit. Like they could go at any time of the day, not like students or people that go to jobs. And so they're totally flexible. But even if the senior can figure out how to apply for the affordable transit fare or the lower fare, it's still $48 a month. So let's say they go to a doctor once a week, that's $12 a pop. And that's, and also, if they, or if they pay cash, it's $4 there. And if it's longer than 90 minutes, which is often the case for a senior, then it's going to be $8. And if they go with a partner, which is often the case, it's going to be twice that expensive. So putting gas in their car and driving to an appointment is an easier and cheaper solution. And most seniors, and I know this because I belong on the Tenants Association, most of these seniors are not likely to research online how to save a few bucks. Like if they're going to save a lot of money, sure, everybody does, but for the amount of times that they travel, they're not going to do all of the research, and they're certainly not going to go with their walkers or without their walkers, with a cane, up to one of the kiosks and try to figure out how to use them. It just won't happen.
You've got, if you could try and summarize, I've given you a little extra time just to summarize, and we have a question after.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And these are all transportation barriers, and free unfettered transit during low ridership hours is the best way to encourage more seniors to use public transit and get them off the roads.
Thank you. We have a question from Chair Redmond.
Thank you very much for coming in. I think you make a really interesting point, how it's easier to put gas in your car. It is expensive to own a vehicle. It's expensive to run a vehicle. So I guess I would ask you, and maybe Commissioner Spooner too, I don't know if there's been any research. Have you talked to people what would incentivize them for getting on the bus?
Just to be able to walk up to the bus stop and get on whenever they need it, as opposed to having the barriers of applying online, figuring all of that out. If somebody could just walk straight up to a bus, and the bus is half empty or 90% empty, just to be able to walk up and put in 2 toonies. Now, of course, in a number of years, these seniors are going to be much more digitally adept, but at present, for the next so many years, they aren't. And so just being able to walk up, put in 2 toonies, and go wherever they have to go.
I guess to ask Commissioner Spooner, have there been any studies about incentivizing, and it doesn't just have to be seniors for that matter, but people to choose bus service over having a car, make that transition?
Mm-hmm.
Through you, Chair, a massive amount of work in the industry related to demand management and moving people into different modes. I think you've picked up a few of the barriers, and some of our previous speakers did the same, which is there's a car sitting in your driveway. It will take you 15 feet from your front door to 15 feet from your destination, and you don't require anything additional. You've already done the work. We offer a number of programs. We do travel training for people who are going to explore transit. In that program, we help them get their first transit pass. We help them ride their most common route. So we do have programs there. We've been talking about expanding that program. But you've hit some really interesting barriers. I will remind you, we moved with council support the transfer window from 90 minutes to 120 minutes. So we do now have the opportunity for 2 hours.
Okay.
But some really good ideas here that I think we'll take away, and I just thank you for your delegation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hold on one moment. Councillor Hunick.
Chair James, I think as a follow-up to Chair Redmond's question, I'm just wondering from Commissioner Spooner, has there been any research into different fares at different times of day? So not just for seniors, but for people in general. If ridership is low between 10 and 2.
Yeah, through you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor. So we've seen something really interesting happen on the back end of the pandemic. So we used to talk about AM and PM peak in transit. We don't talk about that anymore. It's actually completely flattened through the day. That's due to work from home. It's due to different travel patterns, a lot of flexibility. And so we've got data now that shows us that we have very small peaks now and that stays consistent in the day. That being said, there is lots of research around how you could provide time of day transit to various groups. A challenge for us in that we aren't offering group fares, and so how to structure that. There is a technology limitation that we have in this program, but again, with GRT Pay, a lot more flexible in our ability to deliver products. So again, some interesting stuff for us to chew on in this delegation.
Just like using hydro at certain points in the day. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks to the delegate
Thank
for
you.
the great ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today. Next, we have Madav. You're in person. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So today I wanted to talk about two things. So mostly today I've seen very positive reviews of this plan, but I would say that when I first looked at it, I honestly thought it was for next year. Like, I'm not even kidding or anything, but when I looked at it, I thought it was for next year. I thought, okay, this is a good progress. Bus 7 coming once every 10 minutes all day. Okay, I think that's reasonable. Currently, whenever I've rode bus 7, jam-packed, okay? Whenever I rode the 202, jam-packed. Whenever I rode the 201, jam-packed. I rode the Ion to get here, jam-packed, okay? So another thing is, so when I thought, okay, once every 10 minutes, sure, makes sense, okay? So the other day, I go to school. So when I was coming back from school, right? I had to wait 9 minutes for my first stop, for my first bus, and then 9 minutes, not 9, but like almost 9, for my second bus, and then with 5-7 minutes for my third bus, okay? That's just disappointing when the buses are running once every 10 minutes, right? So once every 10 minutes busing, yeah, sure, it's amazing, but not nearly enough. For 2034, it's proposed that buses are going to be running once every 10 minutes and only 16 routes. That's 2034. To me, that's half my life. But like that just seems like crazy, right? That by then, so like whenever we're bus 6, okay, that is a bus that runs only half an hour. It's mostly half full. What do you think is going to happen in 10 years from now? Yeah, it's definitely going to be fuller. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is, yeah, sure, the Ion has good signal priority, but it's not good. Okay, maybe it's just me being spoiled, but like when I ride the Ion, I missed my next bus by 35 seconds. Guess what happened? The Ion also stopped at a red, so I missed my bus by like about 15-ish seconds, but the Ion stopped at a red light for 35 seconds. Yeah, sure, I'm being picky about 35. However, the next bus came after a half hour, which means I was stranded, and if there's somewhere else, I would have been stranded out in the cold. It could have been raining, it could have been hailing, it could have been negative 20 degrees, but I would have been stuck outside waiting for my bus for half an hour because of the signal priority. Another thing is, I've seen our region invest quite a bit of money in like bike lanes, correct? And not bike lanes, bus lanes. Those are amazing, but I feel it'd be way more like cost effective to just give priority to the buses. I've seen that on the business plan. It's only $4 million, right? That is how much in total is planned to be invested in signal priority. That's not even enough for 1 kilometer of road space. Currently, it costs $8 to $11 million US for 1 kilometer of road in the middle of nowhere. So what I'm saying is that the busing is not that, is like, instead of spending so much money on bus lanes, it would be amazing if it could be spent on that stuff. So another thing is, you see I have a helmet. I biked not to get here. I biked to the Ion station to get here, to come here. So it's pretty terrible. I actually biked on the sidewalk. I know it's not supposed to be done, but then again, it's technically legal for me, as I am still younger, to actually bike on the sidewalk. But several people actually told me, biking is not for the sidewalk.
You have about 30 seconds. Oh, sorry. Okay, give you
So like it's clearly said, like, to me, like on the way here, it's only like 300 meter bike ride from the Ion stop to here. But I was told in that little amount of time to get off the sidewalk, but kindly-ish. But like I was told that the sidewalk is not for bikers. So like yeah, sure, we have a nice Ion stop. Nowhere around it was either a single bike lane. Like I biked here. I would love to bike here. But we need the biking infrastructure next to these things. And like, I feel like, so what I want to say is that I feel by 2034, we should have buses running once every 3 minutes. The most key characteristic, like the most full buses are definitely going to need once every 3 minutes. Like they're full at once every 10. They should be a light rail, and they should also be running once, like they need to be extremely frequent because I want to be able to get out, take the bus, like not have to wait. Like I told you, I had to wait so much time for my bus. That just feels like I'm not valued anymore, right? So I could drive to school, and I would have to wake at the same time as many of my friends have to leave to get to school. Like, that's just very disappointing to me.
Okay, thank you for coming in today. Your time's up, unfortunately, but I know we've been in communication. And just for council's awareness, what school are you at?
WCI, Waterloo.
You're a high school student that's engaged, so it's good to see. Thank you for coming in. We do have another speaker that is waiting virtually. Ronak Patel? Okay, so they are no longer online. I just want to confirm that delegate from before, Ellie, has sent correspondence in, so you all should have received that. Okay, so I would like to, at this point, open the floor and call upon any members of the public who have not spoken, who wish to speak at today's public meeting, to come to the podium. And if you do wish to speak, you will have 3 minutes. Please state your full name, municipality in which you reside for the record. And then if there are questions after, please hold on a moment. So if there is anybody who has not spoken, I do see one individual. Thank you. You have 3 minutes and your name and the municipality you are in. Turn the mic on.
Rick Chambers from the City of Waterloo. I'm on the Age-Friendly Committee in the City of Waterloo and the Age-Friendly Network for the region. I'm looking at a sheet of paper that I presented here on December the 8th, 2021, and not much has changed. I just want to mention that at that time I asked for, or we asked, for free rides for older adults over 65 during off-peak hours and on certain days of the week, as Swanee was mentioning earlier. And we were talking about the environmental reasons to do this, and I think we've been through that tonight, and then social reasons as well. I think this region is going to have 25 to 30% of their population over 65 in 5 years. In the last 8 to 10 years of their lives, they will not be able to drive. So knowing how to use public transit is very important. And the GRT does a good job with the Ride-a-Bus program and other things to help people learn that. However, there's still the issue, as Brian Paul mentioned, about the cost of this and the frequency, and as Swanee pointed out as well, making it available to people on a free basis is the most positive way to look at this. Recent research shows that as a society, communities are ill-prepared to provide adequate transit for the growing and increasing population of older adults. A McMaster University study in 2020 said that there is a broad ableist bias in transportation planning across Canada and elsewhere. Transportation officials do not plan their services with enough attention to older adults. Free rides once per week or during off-peak hours would enable older adults to learn how to use the system and fulfill the environmental and social reasons for using a public system. So again, we're still asking 5 years later, in fact, we started this about 10 years ago, for free rides for older adults. I'm very pleased to see that free rides for children is happening, as Brian Paul pointed out, in other jurisdictions in this province and around the world, free rides for everyone is the rule. And if transit systems are not public services or social services and they're expected to run as a business, you're going to disenfranchise a lot of people who could be using the system to their advantage for all kinds of reasons. So I hope I don't have to do this again, but I wish you all the best in making these decisions. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick. And I see no questions from council. Is there anybody else? Okay, I am not seeing any other individuals. Thank you all for coming. Oh, there is one. Okay, yep. Your name and the municipality you're in, and you've got 3 minutes.
First and last name?
Yep.
Matthew Morgan, and I'm from Waterloo. And I have a few questions. One, what is the current timeline for the construction of the transit hub? 2, when are we going to bring back trolley buses? Because they are more energy efficient, even better for the environment, and don't need to be charged overnight unlike battery buses. And 3, since a couple people have mentioned it already, what is the future of Ion Stage 2? And one more thing, what is Ion Stage 3 about?
Okay, Commissioner Spooner, I'm going to have you respond.
Through you, Chair. Thank you for the question. So Kitchener Central Transit Hub timeline, planned to be operational in 2029 or 2030, which I think is a good level of confidence at this time with a project of that complexity. Trolley buses, really interesting. We've had discussions about trolley buses as a propulsion technology. This council has supported us in exploring propulsion technologies from diesel to hybrid to electric and others, and so that absolutely fits in the other. Stage 2 Ion, as I mentioned earlier, will come back to council in November for a consideration of the option selection. And Ion Stage 3 at this point is a corridor identified in the regional official plan that runs from Sunrise to the regional airport. So it's a planning piece at this point, but obviously it suggests that we've got more rapid transit in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to thank everyone for coming in and providing their input, those who are virtual, those who've come in person, and those who have submitted correspondence. All correspondence received by the Regional Clerk's Office regarding the GRT business plan have been compiled and included in the addendum for today's agenda for Council's consideration and are received for information. Any correspondence that's been received after the addendum was released yesterday, I think, and there was the one that came in tonight, and will be included in the, it will be sent to council, the next Sustainability, Infrastructure and Development Committee. We received correspondence from Luke Taylor, Ryan Bean, Justin McLaughlin, and Ellie Liu. And okay, so this concludes our meeting. The next meeting for Sustainability, Infrastructure and Development is May 6th. And we will now move to adjourn. Is there a mover? Councillor Foxton, Councillor Hunick, and you will be prompted in e-scribe to vote.